Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala.
We are doing Satsangs 3 times a week, and all these Satsangs are about that non-duality, what we are. But I just want to ask you if there's any other way it should go, because we never planned how it will go, what we will do. We start with beautiful prayer. What Nilakantanji, he is a Vedic scholar. He knows mantras, japas, shlokas, and he explains the meaning. And then we talk, whatever comes. There is no planned talk, there is no topic here. But whatever can bring us to that beingness, that presence, is what we should be doing or not doing or observing. So, if anyone wants to ask anything, or anyone has any suggestions, or anyone feels that it is working or not working, or what should we do, because from all the best intentions, with most humbleness, the only reason for the satsang is to settle within, to be in peace, to be out of the suffering of the mind, and to be always abiding in this pure presence. And if it is serving that purpose, then we can continue the way it is going. Anything, any suggestions, any advice, whatever anyone feels. Ruchi is trying to unmute herself but couldn't. Yeah.
Could we sit in silence with you for 10 minutes or so at the end, towards the end maybe, without,
Yes.
because that's
Beautiful.
I definitely feel it's working the way it is, because it really does put things in perspective. And the pointers you give really help us work through in the day to put ourselves in that silence or the presence of the self. It definitely helps, because you keep shunning and throwing away all that is not important, all the planning we do or the worries we have. You keep easily dropping them because of the satsangs, I think. So definitely is very, very helpful the way it is. But yeah, I'm sure other people, if they have suggestions, they can make it.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Amit. Hello. How are you?
Hello, hi. I am well, thank you. There was 1 or 2 sessions where you did part of the satsang, which was almost like questions and answers, or it was more day-to-day language. And I think that was quite helpful, because at least for me, because it's in the language, unfortunately, of the mind, but still the knowledge, the development of the knowledge helps. So I think that was quite useful interactively. So and then I think you then went into more of the self, which is also helpful. I think for at least for me, I'm still a lot more work to do, and so I think that's helpful.
Yeah. So the thing is that we can do all the three ways: question answer, talking of self, and then sitting in silence. I think all three things are important because eventually we have to somehow use a technique to silence the mind. We are not scared of mind, but the thing is that when the mind's baggage is on us, it's like a big cloud, the sky is not clear, and we get worried, and the worries can be, for a person who is onlooker, for him your worries would be trivial, but for you they are really big. Even a small thing someone has said, you might feel it's too big to carry on. And sometimes we feel, even when there is no mistake, even if you feel that things have not gone the way it has to be, it gives an emotional setback to us. And we think, oh, we haven't done our duty properly. And I know most of the people, who are on a spiritual path or good people, they don't do for themselves, they do for others. And they try to do the right thing. But then you can't satisfy everyone. And then there are people who might not be happy whatever you do, and then you feel sorry for them, and you also are a bit restless and unhappy that things are not going the way it has to be, whether it's your client, whether it's family, friends, whoever it is. And if you go deeper into this, and I will call it suffering, because this unhappiness, this restlessness in mind, this anxiety, we are not made for this thing. We have not been born to be worried and stressed about our mortgage, about what is happening around us. We have to deal with all these things. We can't escape, we can't run away. But how to keep doing all these things and stay cool and calm and happy and peaceful and blissful rather than just the terms? But that is our innate nature. Actually, this is our innate nature, to be loving, to be kind. We don't have to grow these habits. No one can grow these things, like people say, have love for your neighbor and all those things. Yes, probably you can focus on it and you can improve on it. But let's say if you get rid of the individualistic mind which creates these issues, or even if you can't get rid of it, at least it is not disturbing you, it is at peace. And if there's any technique to reach it, if you see, the core of spirituality or religion is to be happy. There's no other reason. We say goal of life is to know ourselves, but why? To be happy. Each human being desires to be happy. Even animals wants to be happy. Even plants wants to be happy. But one thing, this is spirituality tells us that we can't be happy if we work as a person, as an individual, as an identity. You can have waves of happiness and sorrow, and that's what I call it, a roller coaster ride. You can be happy, you can be unhappy, and a lot of people are okay with that. They said that's the life, joys and sorrows. Let's face it. And there's nothing wrong with it. But if you are looking for something lasting, something which makes you not just happy but contented, one thing about it is, till you reach yourself, abide in self, there's always incompleteness in us. It's not just about happiness also. Some people, they have a good job, good family, their health is good, and they are progressing in their field, and sometimes they are annoyed, but they think, yeah, life is good, I'm happy. What else? Why should I look for God and all these meditation and all? I'm doing really well. So some people even think that spirituality is for a disturbed mind or a person who is suffering, who has lost a loved one or lost a job or depressed. It's not that. It's not that negative health and then positive health. It's beyond everything. You transcend. You transcend your mind, your body. And this, in a very profound way, is not just about happiness or being contented. It's being free. This freedom is eternal. It's not in this body mind. It's not in this moment. It is eternal freedom from the mind. Look, we came to this body. We all came to this body. We were there before this body, and we will be after this body. So, this body is there for a time period. This time period, let's say, is 100 years. But there is one more trick to this whole thing. When we came into the body, we came with a subtle body known as mind, which is our companion for a while. And when you don't understand this, when you leave this body, you leave with this subtle body called as mind, which has all the mental impressions, our desires, and then it takes you wherever it takes you, but it gives you another opportunity, you can say, to fulfill or to manifest those desires or your mental impressions. And the cycle keeps going and going and going. And when we talk of eternal happiness, is free from this mind complex which is full of desires, full of its own ambitions. And those ambitions are also with, you can call it, negative tendencies of our personality, like greed, jealousy, lust, and too many desires there. So the freedom is from all this package. Freedom is eternal freedom. Freedom is get rid of this mind, breaking this knot. In Hindi, they call it Hriday Granthi. This is the knot of the heart. Just removing it. So, how do we transcend mind? We can only transcend mind in silence. We can only transcend mind when we observe, when we are witness. And witness to whom? Witness to all what is coming in the mind, or the feelings and emotions. Even witness to the intellect, which teases, which analyzes the situation, things. To create that love, to create that compassion, all those things are in us, inherent in us, because we have the divine presence, and then we have an ego, and then we are combination of the two. But in its purity, we want that purity, so that ego mind, the individual selfish mind, the one which wants to preserve this body, goes away and leaves us in our purity. How can we do it? We have a very great tool, attention to the self, attention to that presence. Same attention can go out with the mind, projecting in the world, things happening around us, people, jobs. And I'll assure you, we can still do all those things. But maybe the ego might say, oh, you will be more like, not that passionate about the job, what you do. things happening around us, if you don't use mind, if you don't have an ego, if you don't have a drive. But that's not true. Okay, let's assume that if we become more calm and peaceful and without drive and just stay in our pure awareness, we will lose some money. We will lose interest in social gatherings. We might not be able to crack a nice joke like we used to do before. But then who thinks like that? It is just the mind. And do you think it would not be good if your personality changes in that pure presence? And who will accept you and who will not accept you in this new identity, your new avatar? Who will not accept you? Who is other? All these fears comes from the ego only. Because as a body-mind complex, we are all images, we are waves on the ocean. But that beautiful presence, that awareness, pervades in all of us and beyond us. And how to tap into it, how to be more practical for that. The most beautiful thing is we can just sit and just observe from this beingness, from which you can call as I amness, a feeling of aliveness, which has no name, no form. And from here, this is the best seat in theater. From here you can watch the mind is doing activities, and then sometimes the mind can be doing activities for days and you're watching and it's look like a big cloud, it's not going away. Something has happened at work, something has happened in family, something which you have put a lot of energy is not working. And sometimes the mind is like it can pick up a trivial thing, can wake you up at middle of the night. So you practice to be in presence, in awareness. And you stay and it's peaceful, and then suddenly the mind comes back again and you think, oh, I've lost the game again, I've lost to mind. But you have not lost anything if you can observe. And the mind comes with emotions. And those emotions are quite strong and they pull you back towards that individualistic person. And then and I'm asking you to just be empty and just be a pure presence. Don't behave like a person. Behave like just nothing. Let whatever behavior comes, let it come. But you don't own anything. Can we do that? Is it difficult? I would say it is difficult. It's not easy. Because all our life, we only know mind. We know only the tricks of the mind. We have learned the tricks of the trade in all these years through education, through our peers, through family, through culture, through society. I'm not saying all the things which we have learned are bad, but yes, we have learned a lot of stuff which is just to save this body-mind complex. That is bad stuff. That is selfishness. And that is sin. And that is suffering. So how can we just empty everything? Then different religions say, speak truth, don't lie, don't steal. But there's no end to those things, and habits which you're learning, you can de-learn them. And it's hard job. How can you just finish the garbage? How can you burn everything which is not the pure presence? Very, very simple technique. Ignore everything coming out of the mind. whether good, whether bad, whether negative, whether pure. And what is mind? Mind is just a bundle of thoughts coming, and they are asking you, they are inviting you, they are like, you know, things coming in front of you to entice you, to attract you, and you will say, oh, I don't like this, and then you grab something, and then you're gone. This is Maya. This is illusion. Rather than paying attention to what the thoughts are coming and the emotions with it and our responsibilities coming with it and all whatever, still it's coming because the mind is active. It is active because of our interest. Now I have no interest in mind, but there is a momentum to the mind. This momentum is there and it's still showing things. It's like you have switched off the power now. Your attention, the power is on awareness, pure presence. But this belt on which things are moving, in spite of the power of the moment, because of momentum, it's still going. You can't stop it, but you can ignore it. There is a very, very big power in ignorance. Ignorance means you are paying attention to the pure presence, then your thoughts. If you can understand all meditation techniques, mindfulness and all, they have to talk. They say, just observe your thoughts, don't get attached to them. But actually, they all want to say that just completely ignore mind, just stay in this pure silence. And this silence is within, it's not outside. And so I say, take this silence, that impersonal beingness in it, just a feeling of aliveness in it. Observe that only. Pay all attention to that. You can call it like I amness, a feeling of aliveness. To me, it looks silence. If you ask me, who am I will say I am silence. Rest of it is all paraphernalia. Because of the mind, because of the body, because of intellect. But in truth, I am silence. And how to tap into that silence? The best is to just sit when you're not doing anything. Observe your body, observe, and then just sit quietly and just find something in you which has no attribute. And you will come to this discovery that is just like a seeing without mind, seeing without intellect, seeing without judging, liking, disliking, analyzing, just like you are like a video camera which is just recording but not taking anything in, not taking anything, not analyzing. Let's say you sit outside and there is a sunrise, there are birds. You can just observe everything. That is pure presence. But when you start analyzing, oh, the sun looks pretty red today, the birds are uh, going in flocks and they are that many. I haven't seen this bird before. This is analyzing and this is interpreting the scene. And now we have spoiled that pure presence with the mind, with intellect. I'm not asking you to drop mind and drop intellect and live life like a zombie. It's not that. It's to come to that beingness before mind, before intellect, and stay there all the time. You can still use your mind. If you're planning something, you have to calculate something, you have to use your mind. Sometimes you might have to use intellect to look into the right and wrong or whatever. But then everything is being washed from the pure presence, awareness, which is the support, which is the stillness, which is us. And how can you reach there? The first thing is to recognize it. If we don't really know what this pure presence is, then we will be always roaming around in our mind, and mind will show, oh, this is pure presence. Look, I am pure presence. And that might be just our ego. So, sitting in silence, sitting in nothingness, and whatever attributes comes at that moment, discard everything. Discard everything. Discard all the story of this body. And this is practice, this is sadhana, this is perseverance, staying in this emptiness, paying attention to this pure awareness. I call it pure because purity means it is only awareness. Like if you ask me if I am watching and there's a screen in front of me, and I'm just watching but not judging, not analyzing who is there, who is not there, what are their names. This is pure seeing rather than getting involved in the scene. You know, people go to watch a soccer match. Do you think they can be in pure presence there? No one. There's so much of emotions involved. This is my team, it has to win. And sometimes fans can even kill other team fans, and they can be so angry and aggressive, and if their team loses, their day is gone. When you have attachments, you can't be in pure presence. Listen to the silence within. This silence is the door. Not even the door, it's just the opening. Entry into this which is beyond time and space. And these are not mere words, it's not something intellectual, it is the truth. But the mind can't grasp this truth because mind cannot enter there. Only pure presence can enter there, pure awareness. And when we stay as pure awareness, we are there. Try to call yourself as silence. Your name has now been changed to Mr. Silence. And how Mr. Silence will behave? If an argument is going on, Mr. Silence have to be silent. If the mind is talking to you, take mind as a second person. What you need to do, stay in your silence. And when the mind comes with a lot of emotions, feelings, our own story of the body mind from the past, or it takes us into the worries about the future, that this might happen, this is happening, and this will lead to this. What Mr. Silence has to do? Be silent. Perhaps the situation doesn't change around you, but if you recognize your silence, abide in your silence, you are free from the mind, free from the emotions, and free from all the attributes of the ego, which is asking you to compete, to feel jealous of other people around you, to show supremacy on others, desire for objects, lust. And then if you don't get those things, you get angry, your anger, greed. In silence, silence is the fire in which everything which is impure will burn out. It will disappear. It will leave you. This is the power of silence. And it's not that it will be for a second you will be free. Yes, in a second you can be free. But forever is a question. Sometimes the mind comes back again. And I've met so many people who have realized the truth for a couple of minutes, hours, days, weeks, and then the mind comes back again. So the progress on this journey is also slow. It unfolds. And the only internal support is this pure presence. Silence. Just mere seeing. And in this seeing, whatever is our name, our individual, cannot participate. We say the spiritual journey is a journey of a soul, of an individual. Not. To reach there, you have to go even without this name, without this identity, as nothingness. This ego, this mind-body complex, cannot transcend time and space. It has to die here only. Body will turn into dust and mind will also turn into dust. Mind cannot go with you, and what you are is pure presence. At this stage, there is a combination of this pure presence with the mind-body complex. They are all, looks like, all one package. And what we are doing in sadhana, in practice, is to unfold and detach and make them as separate as you can. And this gap will increase and increase and increase if our attention is on the pure presence rather than on the mind body, rather than on external things. Whatever comes in life, accept with folded hands, because that all is coming to the mind body. It is action and reaction. The body wanted something, it got it. The body wanted a lot of sweets, it got the sweets and then got diabetes. It's doing its own karmas. Let it be. But you are pure presence. You just watch. And watch your own body and mind also with compassion and love. If you have no love for this body mind complex, you can't love other images on the screen. Because they are also part of you. And they are part of you if they understand. Because everything is pure awareness only. And if they also detach and have this gap between the body mind and their pure presence, then when you meet someone with pure presence, then you are meeting your own self. But let's say you meet someone who is still in egoistic mind and you have sorted out yourself. You are pure presence and you are detached from the body mind complex. What will happen if you meet someone who is quite egoistic personality? What will happen? You will only see the pure presence. You will notice his ego more than him because you have unfolded yourself, you have unfolded everything. It is like one piece of puzzle. If you sort it out, you have sorted out the whole puzzle. This is just one knowledge. If you know everything. Then you don't have to look into others' body, mind and how to open it. For you, it is open. It was never connected. It is only in their own concept that they are still connected to their body, mind. They speak like body, mind. But for you, if you have sorted out yourself, you have sorted out everything. And you meet others as pure presence. You love them because they are part of the same pure presence as you. Yes, images are like waves. Do you think the source is responsible for the bad doings of the body mind? The source? Never. Source is never involved. Treat yourself, understand yourself as your sun. You are just a sunshine. Good things are happening in this sunshine and bad things are happening. When bad things are happening, would you blame sun that in your broad daylight this murder has happened? What does broad daylight means? Broad daylight, it's giving light to everything. And what is freedom? Freedom is also this, that you are that sun. You are that source. You are never involved. And you are never bound. Tell me, how do you know that you have to do these things before you die? You know, when I was turning 40, I was at one of the airports and there was time. I found a book, Things to be Done Before You Turn 40. And I think there were 3 years left. So these books tells us what to be done before you turn 40. And this is all our concepts, Who told us that I have to do this or these things? Okay, taking a step backward, I can tell you, talking to the family members and your relatives, people speak like that I would like to die after I see my grandkid born. And then after 20 years, they say, now I would like to die once my grandkid get married. This is never ending drama. In India, it's very typical. They speak like this. In Hindi, they say, pote ka muh dekh ke marna chahungi. What does that mean? So we make our own things in our own mind that these are the things we have to do. Do you think that awareness has set us an agenda that we have to do these 10 things and then only you can die? Nothing. And that awareness is us only. If tomorrow you keep both legs on your wall and just relax yourself and say, I'm not doing anything, no one can say you have to do. Your boss might kick out of the job, but that's okay. I'm not saying for you to leave things, but you should leave everything in your mind and you're already free, whether you do a job or you don't do a job. It is our attachment to everything that I am doing, I am the doer. Doership is the problem. Always when this comes to your mind, that I have these tasks ahead and I have to finish, remember that saint living in the cave in Himalayas, naked, without anyone. How is he different than you and me? So the God is kind to him, not given any work to him and given all the work to us. It's not like that. It is we as the ego has picked up all the things, all the crap, now busy, and now we have to finish, now our responsibility. It's not that. God is kind to all of us. And that God is within us and it's never involved. The one who gets involved is just completely fake. Who knows who this thing is, this ghost, which thinks he's body, mind and he's doing, and we are that who is never involved. We all are that pure presence which is never ever involved. It never judges, never likes or dislikes, which has no agenda, no plan. It is just pure bliss. We all are that. None of us, even for a second, is a doer. None of us, even for a second, gathers any karmas. We all are this uninvolved, pure presence, awareness. If today you have understood this, you are free at this moment. Because pure presence has nothing to do. Who does all sadhana, practice, japa, tapa, self-inquiry? Who does all these things? Who does these things? That fake person sitting in us, we call it ego. The absolute truth is all of us are never ever involved in anything. And if we are never involved, then who has to be free? Who needs freedom? The one who needs freedom is fake. He doesn't exist. And the one what we are in truth is always free. If you grasp this truth, you are always free. But stay here. Don't slip back into the mind or a personhood. You stay as your pure presence. If you are so strong and convinced with this truth, no practice is needed. Practices are for the fake person in us, who is not convinced. And that fake person can never reach. It will disappear. No one is in bondage and no one needs freedom. We are always free. And discovering this truth is the end of suffering. If you are convinced at this moment, you are already free. When we call this word as dream, for whom this is a dream? For pure awareness, it's just a dream. We call things dream when they are not real. And in reality, we have never done any sin. We were never ever involved. I'll tell you, life will be beautiful if we stay as witness all the time, watching things unfolding in this body mind. And what do we call as suffering? What we call as suffering cannot even touch, cannot come even close to pure awareness. All what we call suffering comes to the body-mind complex, which is not you. So for all the bad karmas from the previous birth or this birth, who will suffer? You will suffer or the body will suffer? You can never suffer. There is no suffering to pure awareness. And pure awareness has never done anything bad to suffer. Then who will suffer? this insentient body might suffer. Or the gadget which we call mind might suffer. But you are always without suffering. Suffering will only come to the person who is involved in action, in desires. As pure presence, you have no desire, so no action. You are always a witness. You came into this body, and since you came, you are just observing. You have not done any crime, any wrongdoing, and also no good doing. Knowing this truth, be contented and happy, as you are eternally free. And let body go through what it has to. If you still feel sorry for only for this body in which you are living for the moment, through which you are speaking, then you are still in personhood. Then you are still selfish. Remember this. Then suffering belongs to you. We all are pure awareness, using this body to communicate with each other. So is the mind, to help us to calculate, to plan things. But we have no ownership of this body-mind complex. Body-mind is a transient phenomena in the time-space dimension. And we all are beyond time and space. Anything in time has start and end. We all are outside this time and space. There is no past or future to us. Outside time, space, everything is only in this moment, ever fresh, new, alive. And so we are, all of us, without any exception. Sit in our own silence. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om